Good Monday afternoon, everyone. My name is Zach Clayton. I am the president and founder of Community Pay It Forward, Community Dare to Care, and the PAC channels. Welcome to Footprints Forward. And as you can see, we have us a pretty full house already. And this does not even include our guest, which is a full thing. And then there goes Patrick trying to play hide and go seek like he loves to do. I mean, Patrick thinks he can just pop in and pop out whenever he wants, and he's a big shot now. He started his podcast on the channel this morning. So look at him go. Ladies and gentlemen, this week, while I was actually, it was late last week, while I was preparing for the show, I pulled up statistics from the CDC, and we're going to be talking a lot about these because I found out something that is just, we were talking about a little bit. Dennis can understand it a little bit, but the truth is, I thought the numbers were going to be a lot different. And we're going to be talking quite a bit about that with our guest. She is a Community Pay It Forward partner. She is a wonderful, wonderful partner. She's been a partner with us for quite a while. And I am thrilled that we get to talk to her again because I have not talked to her in a long time. You can find her on our website, communitypayitforward.us under Care Matters LLC, and it's Kimberly Diaz. And we're going to be bringing her up in just a little bit. But to get started, I want to go on ahead and ask Miss Stephanie, the goddess of the grape, give us your introduction, please.
Of course. I'm so happy to be here, joined by the family. We're just missing a few here. Wonderful. Hi, everyone. My name is Stephanie Simoes. I work with nonprofit organizations and people year-round to assist with fundraising through One Hope Wine. So what I do is I specialize in fundraising, gifting, private wine events, and wine delivery. And when you pour a glass of wine or send a gift, it's a great feeling to know that that bottle is making an impact for a nonprofit organization that's important to you. Zach and I run a monthly show highlighting smaller nonprofit organizations to help them fundraise, but most importantly, to get their mission out there to more people. So if you're not there yet, you can follow our monthly mission at Community Pay It Forward, One Hope Fundraiser on Facebook. You can find that really easily in my link tree that's right below my name there, and give us a follow there. I am also the co-founder of New Heights Homestead. My husband and I are traveling 580 miles with our 5 children and our animals to build a mountaintop homestead from the ground up. Our goal is not only to have a more natural approach for our family, but to be able to support our community and nonprofits we love through this space. So if you're curious about topics like homesteading, off-grid living, animals, non-traditional home designs like container home builds, more natural living topics, growing food, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and come on the journey with us. That's at New Heights Homestead, also in my link tree. This mission is super important to me because the last few years in working in the nonprofit space, I've learned a lot about where our systems are lacking in support. And I really believe that what we're doing here and the resources and education is really so important. So I'm happy to be here and feel free to connect with me through my link tree. Thank you so much, Zach.
Stephanie, every time you talk about the mission and you and Paul, you guys taking and moving and everything, I can just imagine it. If for some reason, it just hits in my head with all of the animals and everything that you guys have. You can just see like a circus train going from Pennsylvania, moving on there. So
pretty much a circus train and a passenger bus.
There you go. So, well, thank you very much, Stephanie, and we're glad to see you back. You had horse duty last week, so you couldn't join us. I know that you didn't like it, but we got you here now. So, family comes first, as everybody right in the family knows. So. Next up, we've got the glorious Diamond Drip. How you doing, Diamond?
Like Stephanie, I am happy to be here with the fam. We do, in fact, have a full house tonight, almost. Just a little jam about me. I am a business resilience coach. The name of my company is Diamond Drip Consulting. And what I do in my business is I help entrepreneurs my heart and joy are female service-based entrepreneurs. I help them step out of overwhelm, the overwhelm that comes with, well, quite frankly, trying to grow a business. I'm there to be that voice of reason and support and to offer tips and tools and techniques to help them make it a little bit easier. And it is one of my greatest joys to help them feel as aligned as I do when I wake up each morning. So that is me.
You know, Diamond, you were on our show the other night with Publio, honoring our heroes, both country and community. And a lot of people, one of the things that we don't let people know enough of is that you yourself are a veteran of the Air Force. And I want to thank you so very much for your service and the wonderful way that you go about business. It's not the same coaching, you know, getting up and doing all the funky things some of the other coaches do. So I really enjoy, and I'm hoping now that life is starting to slow down a little bit, while at the same time moving really fast. So,
Right.
hoping to be able to catch up with you anymore. Diamond, how do people go about finding some of your wonderful networking programs?
Oh, yes. So the website that just popped up there, thank you, Zach, it has a button that now works. Shout out to domain linking on the back end. But there's a button there that basically tells you about the different types of events that I host. And then there's a free community where you get pretty much an announcement every week with the podcast episode, which is 15 minutes or less, just straight business insights and tips and strategy. And then the other button is for the community. And so when you join the community, you get to know about both. So it's a win-win.
Definitely check out diamonddripconsulting.com. I'm going to tell you, it's going to be well worth it. Next up, we've got our really good friend who wasn't supposed to be here today, but lucky enough, they let him off the hook and they let him come on in. Mr. Dennis Schroeder, the founder of Price of Freedom Foundation. Dennis, how are you?
I'm doing excellent. I have been telling people for the last month or so that I feel better than I have in many years. For those that don't know me, I had a 11-year process of increasing back pain due to a number of factors, and on August 9th of this year underwent L4 to S1 decompression and fusion operation, 4 hours on the surgical table itself. So they cleaned out a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm thankful for their skills and thankful that God saw us everything through, and they just today cleared me. No longer have to wear the brace. Removed all the restrictions on lifting weight, etc. And we're going to be talking with physical therapy only because I want to make sure that the exercise regime that I start is going to help be focused on getting me where I want to go, which is eventually being able to be running, like 5 and 10K races like I used to do many years ago and would still love to be able to do. And so I'm super pumped about that. But anyway, I run an organization, a small nonprofit currently, that is called the Price of Freedom Foundation. I started it based upon almost in my entire life being in and around the military. I was born and raised in a Navy family and served 24 years in the Army myself. The Price of Freedom Foundation is dedicated to those who we will not be honoring this coming Saturday on Veterans Day. These are men and women who did not get to be veterans. As we all know, part of military service is knowing that there may be times where you are going to be asked to put your life on the line for the sake of our nation's defense. And what we do is we tell the complete life stories of those who did that. Whether it was in combat, whether it was in a training accident, whether it was a vehicular accident at the base that they were at, or whether it was by suicide. We believe that all of these stories deserve to be collected, preserved, and told. And so that's what we're about. And particularly here with Veterans Day coming up, I basically like to ask folks to think about those that didn't get to be a veteran, and check us out and join our cause. Help us to get this done.
It's really wonderful to have you, and I know that your schedule is crazy busy right now. So, Dennis, you taking and joining us for this show, I greatly appreciate. Like I said, I think this is one that as they've all been, and I could say this about every show that we've ever put together, but every single one of them is special for a different reason, and this is going to be a really special one for a lot of us who have had or currently have aging parents and have taken care of them. So
I'm looking
next
forward
up,
to it.
yeah. Next up, last but definitely not least, the brand new member of the PAC channel with a bunch of wonderful, wonderful shows, including the one that he started this morning, Mr. Patrick Myers. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing really, really good, man. Yeah, so it was quite a journey trying to get that video on the channel. Oh man, I was like, what's on my computer? Yeah, but it finally worked out, man. It was pretty cool, and the learning process was pretty awesome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be able to do that, man. It's been a quite the ride with you guys, man, that I just did not see coming. And so it's great, man. Glad to see everybody here today. Just it always makes me smile, man, seeing all y'all cheesing just like I am. So it's cool. Um, well, my name is Patrick Myers. I'm the founder of Call Edge Global, and one of the projects I'm working on right now is a media company called Consuming Fire Media, which we are putting out several different podcasts. These are the ones you're going to be seeing on back channels and other things that I'm building at the moment. Um, right now, we have the Pitman's podcast. This is something you can find on Spotify, and we're getting ready to switch over to a live version, which will be coming out in the next week or two. We have the Chronicles of Pat and Aya. That is one that we just put out. Me and my girlfriend just put out this morning. It's our first one with that. And please go check it out. On Facebook Live on my page. Just look at Patrick Myers and subscribe, like, donate, whatever you want to do with that. We have another one that we are going to be launching in the very, very near future. When we can figure out studio and stuff like that, and that's going to be Voices in the Fire, where people in the community are going to be able to tell their stories about how God helped them through different situations in their life and how they went and deliverance that comes. Next thing is the Youth Initiative, and that is a another global effort that we're doing. It's going to be a nonprofit, and the chapter that I've started here in White House, Tennessee, is called The Roots, and we are growing and just the impact that's having on kids. So basically, what we do with that portion is I give teenagers the tools um, um, to be able to impact the community right now where they are at. You don't have to be our age to actually have an impact. You can be 16, 17, 18 years old, and you can have a major impact in the community and world around you. And so giving them the tools to do that, where we do classes, where we do different things, like we do mind mapping, we do vision planning. We also let them figure out, say, hey, we want to do a project like go serve the elderly community. And while we find ways for them to actually plan that out themselves, figure out the programs that they want to do, make that program, implement it, and then also try to get the community behind them to actually help them do it. So pretty comprehensive as far as those things to do. And then and the other thing is spend my time just telling many people about things as I possibly can. And that's my
No. Well, as you can plainly hear, he does a lot. A lot. So, but welcome, Patrick. And I really did enjoy your show earlier. So I definitely ask people to, find find the way that you can watch it and come back, wherever you're watching right now, scroll down a little bit and you'll be able to watch the show from this morning. So, but thank you very much, Patrick. So our guest today, again, she is a wonderful partner of ours in Community Pay It Forward. I've known Kimberly for quite a while. We don't, of course, get to speak as much as I wish we could because, well, she's a pretty busy person. I like to claim I am too, but let's be honest here, I just sit here and play with my fish. Okay, I do a little more than that, but Kimberly is, she's got all kinds of things going on. She's she helps place nurses, advocacy, relocation and placement, which is so important for senior and senior living, private duty nursing, caregiving, and of course, the death midwifery. Kimberly Diaz from Care Matters Always is our guest today. Hello, Kimberly. How are you doing?
Have to take the mute off. I'm doing well, Zach. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem. And again, thank you so much for being here. Kimberly, you and I did meet quite a while ago in a networking thing, and you were just not getting started. You've kind of started to grow quite a bit, right? You've got other nurses under you. And why did you decide to go from working in another, just as a nurse, to doing this, to running this yourself?
Why did I decide to go rogue?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Because after doing this work for 25 years and having just the empathy and the exposure to seniors and their families, I had a long journey prior to getting here that I didn't understand, and this now I understand was the reason for my journey. I felt I could reach more people, I could be more successful, I could serve more in the way that they deserve to be served, doing it under kind of my own rules in my own way, leading with my heart.
I don't know what I got caught in my throat the other day. It was in my eye, and now it's in my throat. Yeah. What is one of the things that you have found since you've been the administrator, since you've been all this? What is the one thing that you've been able to find when it comes to care for our mature adult population that you think has been overlooked quite a bit? What is one thing that Care Matters Always has done that other people don't do?
Well, number one is that there's no cookie cutter approach. Every single person is unique. Every family is unique. So really being a good listener, and listening for what they're not saying oftentimes, and helping, customize usually we have several plans, A, B, C, and D, to these individuals based on their individual needs, desires, wishes, giving people back choice. That's one of the things that I really struggled with. It's like, oh, you're an older adult. We took your license, we took this, we took that. You don't get any decisions anymore. That's not true, and that's not okay. So giving back choice and being a voice.
Here's your home. Here's your buzzer. Call us if you need us. And other than that, sit still and watch Matlock. Yeah. Right. Well, as I mentioned, Kimberly, when I read this, you were the first person, and I've been trying to get you on this show for a while because I did want to talk about the depression in the elder community for a while. But I came across this statistic, and this is And this is from the CDC. Sorry, not SCD or whatever the hell I was going to say. But this number is absolutely scary. And if you look, I guess I better get to the right one. If you look right here, we've got the ages. 85 and plus, 22.4% of suicides in America are 85 and plus. 75 to 84 is 19.6%. And 65 to 74 is 15.3. This equals out to a little under 55% of all suicide is 65 and over.
Mhm.
Kimberly, why is this so high? I mean, I know that you talk to seniors. Why are these numbers so drastically high?
Well, COVID certainly accelerated that with the social isolation, which increased the depression. Also, just people who have had a history of previous suicide attempts, plus seniors, older adults that commit suicide are much more successful than those that are younger. And chronic illness, there's lots of reasons. And another stat that I often look at is actually caregivers. 72% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for because they totally lose themselves caring for that senior. So, I mean, this is a real travesty. I mean, it's something that needs, and it's just, again, going to show how poor of a job we do in mental health in America. It's still very stigmatized and
and I'm going to bring Stephanie, I'm going to bring you in on this one because this is something you and I have heard quite often in our show talking about caregivers. You also are a caregiver for your son who's been afflicted with pandas. You understand exactly what she's talking about.
I do. And, I'm in a lot of groups, and thank goodness for the other families that kind of get it, right? Because we just recently talked about this being, the invisible illness, Zach, and me really relating to that. It's tough. It is tough. And I can completely see how COVID and that isolation and taking you away from maybe that support person or those people that you were able to talk to get through your day and get through what was happening. I was very shocked with it being the elderly, though. Like the 65 and older thing, when Zach brought those statistics to us before the show, I was really surprised by that. I don't know if you can kind of enlighten us a little bit with that. I think that would be great. Have you worked with younger people also, Kimberly, or is it mostly elderly?
There's a bit of a mix. I actually have a current client that I case manage, but I'm also using some of my death midwifery skills with her. She's 61 and had a fall a year ago, just kind of a freak thing, has had this awful chronic pain ever since. She can't even put clothes on her body because it hurts. Okay. She also has stopped eating because of that. She's 5'5", 82.6 pounds.
Mm.
Okay. She has a tube feed. Trying to get doctors to listen. And we wound up having to kind of circumvent the physician, get her on hospice. And she's had morphine for the last 4 days. And in the first time in over a year, she is not experiencing pain. She had a full night's sleep. She's actually getting some of her appetite back. But she was just not listened to. They just pushed her off from doctor to doctor that said, well, we can't find anything. There's nothing wrong with you. Oh, it must be psychological. It's got to be in her head.
So are you like the advocate for these people? Do they have family that are kind of supporting their medical journey? Because I know that could be a full-time job and it's stressful, because they're older, do they have, you know, children, or are these people sometimes without children and people to kind of advocate for them? Because let's be honest, the medical field, it's a business. They want to just pass you on to the next person, and if they can't prescribe you something, they're like, oh, okay, we're done.
You're such a sweetheart saying it's a business. I was going to say racket, but I'm not a good guy. So
Exactly.
yeah.
This particular client does have a husband, very, very concerned. Well, actually, they're partners. They've been together for 15 years. But he's the one that was led to me from the case manager at the doctor's office. And it was first just for a caregiver. And as we got to talk and get to know one another, he said, I need a quarterback. I am not a quarterback in this situation. I need to be here. I need to love her. I need to be with her. I need a quarterback. And I said, I can be your quarterback. So that's kind of how that went. So yes, advocate, quarterback. You know, I understand the language that's being spoken. So sometimes I'm a translator. You know, it just really depends. And just being an ear that can, you know, he can talk to and she can talk to, and push the doctors a bit, you know, push them to do things that are right. You know, they took an oath to do no harm. You are harming this woman.
Yeah. You know, I think what that husband did is so vitally important. He realized his limited, he realized his limitations, and he says, look, I can love this woman with all of my heart. I can take care of her in that way. There ain't no way in hell I know how to take care of her. I don't understand what I'm doing. So that husband, I can actually kind of clap with my arm again. I just can't really slam my hands together yet, but getting closer. So, hey, Diamond, this is something that maybe you can help me speak to Kimberly on. Kimberly, do you ever have family members who want to go down the natural healing way rather than going for the morphine? Maybe they want to try, you know, some THC or psilocybin. Do you ever have anybody who wants to go in that way? And do you do that?
Yes, I actually work with a awesome gentleman here in Lakewood who I've got his name down, Zach, because you need to meet him. And he grows cannabis. He does all sorts of things, but we actually started with some cannabis oil for her to see if that could give her some relief. I also brought in an acupuncturist that I work with, another girl that does hypnosis and RTT, if the client is open to that, you know. So I had a conversation about her because I said, you know, I can do all these great things as a nurse and have these interventions, but what do you want? And she just didn't want to be a pain anymore. So she was open to whatever.
Did you have anything to add to that, Diamond?
I just love that they started with the cannabis oils. I am a full proponent of natural medicine, as you know, as the mushrooms shine colorfully through in my background.
No.
But yeah, just we're introducing people. I'd love an intro. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dennis, you made mention of this first, and so you can't blame me for it, but you did mention that you are in almost in that 65 age range, and you mentioned how, you know, when we first read off these things off air, you were like, I can see it, the pain, everything, you know. So can you please expound on that? You know,
Sure.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I am within that I'm 67, so I am within that range, and I know from my own personal experience in two different ways. Number one was the pain that I had and I dealt with for the last 11 years with problems with my lower back that thankfully were corrected by surgery in August. And so I've been telling folks I'm feeling like a new man, and you know, feel better than I have in an extremely long time. So, but I know that personal feeling of being in pain. And for me, I was fortunate that medication was able to help until it didn't. And this past year was when it didn't any longer. And it really, the second is because of my time in the Army. I was a medical administrator, medical service corps officer. And after the Army, I was in the medical arena as well as an administrative person. So worked for a college of nursing for about 5 years as well. So from a perspective of being somebody who is in the healthcare arena, this is a very interesting topic to me, and I think that it's very complex because as we get older, we have a lot of folks who have resources and assets that can help them, both financially and in their relationships and their lives, and then we have others who do not. And I think there's a big difference with those who don't have the financial resources to be able to have somebody help them, who have no health insurance, who depend upon Medicare and Medicaid. And I think also, as I was hearing you talk, I think that there's a reluctance on the part of physicians to prescribe more than the absolute minimum pain medications because of all of the problems with people getting addicted to them, and the doctors who are being convicted and sent to prison for overprescribing. And so I think that throws another very complex monkey wrench into the whole situation. And so it does not surprise me at all. I had, as I was saying before we came on air, just bringing this topic up reminded me that I had a high school friend of mine who we didn't really stay in touch. We every once in a while, every 10 or 15 years or so, we'd run into each other. And I think the last time I saw him was about 20 years ago. So he was in his late 40s and very physically fit, rode his bicycle everywhere he went by choice, not because he didn't have other options. But I learned probably 10 years after that he had committed suicide. And the mutual friend who told me about this said that, something had happened and he was in constant pain that could not be managed by the doctors and whatever systems that he was trying to use. So yes, it's terrible. It's sad, but it's not surprising to me.
Kimberly, how often do you hear the stories that are just like the one you just heard?
Too much, too often. We went from a society that we gave away pain medications like candy to cold turkey where you're not getting anything. And there's got to be a happy medium because there are plenty of people out there that need these medications. Certainly ones that have abused them, but I honestly don't think that's the majority. There's people out there with, chronic illness and they can't, like I said, she's been living in her bed naked because she's in so much pain, can't even have anything touching her skin for a year. That up to the bathroom and back, that's been her life. There's no purpose, there's no drive, she's existing. That's it. That's not living.
That's that's a horrible, just thought that your life would get to be, just that. That really is. Patrick, I know that this is something that, you kind of actually felt a little bit like that at one point in time, that, what the hell am I even doing here? Why am I here? And I wanted you to go on ahead and join in on this. And what are you hearing? And do you have anything to ask?
Well, I think if you've been involved in any kind of long-term medical care, for the most part, you got some kind of story about how the medical system is just not uh, just what's not needed. It's not what's needed right now in society. And I used to be actually felt some sort of way towards like doctors and nurses and stuff like that because those are the ones that bring stuff to me. But then I realized, when I actually was in the hospital for an extended period of time, like they are in they have the worst of it because they're dealing with what people are deciding from the top down and then having to do the same thing. So it's like the system's broken all the way up to the top, and there's we try to put blame on because we try to put blame on things that we don't understand. Um, and I really saw my heart really changed towards like doctors and nurses. Some doctors now, it's a money thing, because they get kickbacks and things like that. But for the most part, like especially like your nurses and stuff like that, they're in a dang if you do, dang if you don't kind of situation. And I know for me, like I've almost died twice because of medication, or the lack of it and the lack of care that was needed. I almost actually died last year from a gallbladder rupture where I went in and the doctor treated me like I was some kind of drug addict needing pain medication, and I was just like, they gave me these pain medication shots, and then I couldn't. I was like, yo, like something's really wrong with me. Like they're like, we're sending you home. I was like, and I was crying. I was like, don't send me home. Something's wrong. I feel like I'm gonna die if I go home. But they sent me home, and well, I almost died. I was literally 30 minutes away from dying and getting the surgery that I needed, like maybe a couple days later because of the negligence. You know, and then I have my mom, for instance. My mom she has some stuff going on with her, and it's very serious. And just seeing the struggle of her trying to get what she needs, at 64, I think, at 65. No, she's 65. No, 64. I was right first time. So, seeing what she has to go through, and then like how much effort my dad has to put into making sure that she gets what he needs, because we've learned a long time ago, like that your healthcare is in your hands. You don't just trust your doctor. You don't just trust. You don't just say, they give you the things or whatever. And so when you're saying all this, um, I just see all the elderly people in the communities that I serve that go through this. This is like common on a level that just doesn't make sense. It should not be common that so many elderly are going through this. And I'm really, really glad that you have sought to go outside the box and do something about what you see, because most people stay inside the box and can't understand why the same things keep happening. Because you're inside the box, the same rules constantly chipping at you. When you get out of it, you can do things beyond and help beyond what's happening. So my thing is, what really intrigued me is when you said that you're able to help elderly with choices, because I feel like that was one of the major things that was taken away from me in my healthcare, where I felt like was taken away from me, where I didn't know that actually I had more choice and power than I realized. And what I see happening to my mom and how my dad's handling it, because my dad makes sure that all the choices are on the table. And so, what are some of the choices that are now more available through what you do? Like, how do you help them navigate these choices? What are the
So it depends on which avenue you're talking about. If we're talking about end of life options, or just options, choices. So rather, let's say it's time that they need to go to a community, giving them choices and options when it comes to that. Knowing I always tell families, please don't be, mystified by all the bells and whistles and in the pretty chandeliers. I'm worried about what's going on in the back. How's your
Yes.
staffing? Who's taking care of you? You know, are they just meeting the, you know, the regulations, or are they staffed well? Have they, you know, come back from staffing? Has, you know, have you sought out a second opinion, a third opinion? Do you ask your doctor questions? Most of them don't. They just sit there and whatever the doctor says, or then they look at the nurse like, you know, again, a translator, like, what did he say to me? And then they have all these questions for you, because it's still that generation that what the doctor says goes. And unfortunately, that's usually not the way that people want to go. So just really encouraging, asking questions on their behalf, you know, making sure that they understand. I also deal with a lot of dementia. So that's, you know, another talk about a voiceless,
Yeah.
you know, group of people. And, you know, Patrick, you mentioned about, you know, medications and medical errors are still the third leading cause of death in America, killing over 250,000 people every single year. Yeah. I mean, this is just insane stuff. And the reason I know this stuff is because, you know, I see this. Well, I've got a med management program that I put out for people, because it's important that, you know, doctors don't talk. Computers don't talk to each other. People just assume that everybody knows what's going on, it's taking care of them, but they generally don't. So
Right. It's put into a database, and because it's in a database, everybody's supposed to know everything that's going on.
yeah,
Because, you know, life has been made easier by databases, but I mean, unless you really read and study that, they don't have that. You know, Kimberly, you just mentioned something, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but you just kind of brought it up. Here are the ways that people are ending their life, and it's at 55% by firearm. And this one actually shocked me a little bit. I thought poisoning, because I know here in Colorado, an overdose is considered accidental suicide.
Mhm.
And so I was thinking, and I know that's the same in some states, but not all. So I was thinking that poisoning would be a little bit higher, and 26% is suffocation. And then of course you got 8% at other. But yeah, and you know, people dying because the medications are mixed wrong, or prescribed wrong, or so many other problems that can be had. So you were just mentioning it, Kimberly, and I want to ask you a question about your wonderful caregivers. Okay, what every caregiver, when they go in and they talk to a person, they have more than one job. They have a list of duties that would a normal person look at and go, "Oh, hell no. I can't do all this in one day." Yet your caregivers have to do that for every person they see, right?
Yeah, and a little bit different about me too is mine is it's consumer driven care. So the caregivers are independent contractors.
Right.
They want to be entrepreneurs. They want to work for themselves. So I'm essentially a matchmaker. But you know, I'm doing the background checks, all you know, all of that, making sure they have the skills. But then they ultimately work for that client. So they're deciding together what care they can provide and what services they can provide, you know, based on their need and their knowledge. One of my caregivers, she was a cardiologist in Russia, but she comes here, she doesn't want to go through all that testing and having to redo that. So she's happy serving, you know, older adults in that way. She loves hospice. That's, you know, I did hospice for 15 years. That's my jam. So, you know, it's really, this also empowers the clients to be in control. The people that are receiving the care to have a say in how their care is delivered. Again, going back to that choice. And the fact that everybody is different, how they would want to be spoken to, how they would want, their medications taken care. All these different things are unique to every individual.
Yeah. Stephanie?
I was wondering, because I could relate to a lot of what you're mentioning here. I went through a lot with my grandparents, in their last years. In particular, my grandfather, I was living with them throughout a good portion of that time. My question to you, and I'll back it with a little bit of a story, but do you support families just local to you, or do you take on families across the U.S.? I'm guessing with staffing and stuff, you might have a further reach, but I was curious about that.
Yeah, I actually just bought I'm building an extension of my company in the Tampa area, but I have helped people in other states depending on what they need, because medical lingo is medical lingo.
Right.
But I certainly have enough people in my wheelhouse that I'm able to reach out to, if they actually need a caregiver. I can even find caregivers in other states. I mean,
Right.
we had recently where someone needed a caregiver in Durango, so we got one. Granted, that's still local, but there's plenty of people out there that I can get in touch with to help, and a lot of it's just giving people that direction and guidance, and then they can kind of take it from there. So it really is based on what the need is.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I kind of wish I knew someone like you back then.
Yeah.
Because, my grandfather was old school Italian, very set in his ways, didn't want to switch doctors, all of that stuff. But, it got to the point where my grandmother was caring for him. I remember coming home from college one day and her face was she was so stressed, so wiped. I almost dropped him in the shower today. There was no help there for her. I helped as much as I could when I was there, but I was working full time. I was going to school full time and, checking in on them. But, I remember at one point looking at his arms and going, why do they keep sending you for blood work all the time? And he had no idea. Like, it's almost just like another swipe on the insurance, another swipe on the insurance. I hate that. I don't hate that I'm saying this out loud like this. It's true. And he didn't understand even why they were taking blood or what they were looking for. And I was like, we don't want another opinion. And truly, in his final days, he finally got approved for hospice, and he was home a few hours before family had to administer the medication. The nurse called on the phone because we were like, he is not comfortable. This is not okay. So I can truly see where somebody like you getting in there and like getting it done at the time that it really needed to be done is so important. So my thoughts are just thank you for what you're doing. There needs to be more people like you out there, because I think that there's a lot of need for this.
There absolutely is. And just, having those conversations, families often, they're not going to ask their loved one truly what do they want, because they may be afraid of what the answer is. But I can go in there and say, and if I just want to be left alone, I don't want to be poked anymore. Let's get hospice in then. Let's let you enjoy the end of your life. There's so many different options out there, or talk about death. Let's talk about what you want at the end of life. Because guess what? None of us are getting out of here alive. So let's talk about it. Let's celebrate about it. Let's have it be the way you want.
I think that's a really great point, Kimberly, because we could be talking about somebody who's just tired of being tired, but they're not wanting to commit suicide. They're just tired of all the appointments and the drugs and everything else that's being pumped into them that makes them feel like garbage. This is one way that we can, so instead of pushing them towards depression and suicide and stuff like this, this is one way to help them live out the last few days to where, maybe it's not conducive for a long life, but maybe they're not done living. They just want to live it on their own, on their own
terms. Yeah.
In their own area.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. This is beautiful. Somebody just tuned in. What a wonderful, what a necessary conversation. I wish I knew who you were. I would love to credit you for this, but thank you very much. I greatly appreciate the wonderful comments. And again, you can always get a hold of Kimberly and continue this conversation. You see her phone number right down there. But Dennis, please.
Yeah, so I love what you're saying and what you're offering. I guess because I know people who are in these kind of situations, my question for you is, what kind of advice do you have for those who are alone, single, have no partner, no spouse or children? Maybe they don't have a supportive family that's willing to help them when they're in a situation where they need this kind of support, or are truly destitute. What kind of advice can you give to people who are kind of without a lot of resources?
Sure. So, some of it, first you start off with having a conversation about what they truly want. I have one client in particular that I case manage. She's a retired attorney. She's now blind. She never had children. She doesn't have any siblings. I am truly her. Some people ask sometimes, is that your daughter at the assisted living? And she's like, she's just like a daughter, and I actually act as her power of attorney because she doesn't have anybody. Medical, I've got a fiduciary involved on the finance piece because I'm not touching anybody's money. But, when something goes on with her, when there's care, if she needs to go to the hospital, she and I are having these conversations and I am her voice. But there's other, associations out there. I'm also part of the board of directors for the Senior Hub, and we've got volunteers, and there are people there that want to be of service, that want to help, but they just don't know where to go. So connecting them with some of the senior resources and some of the many of groups that are out there in the nonprofits that really, and a lot of them, they're, older adults as well, that they're not ready to just hang it up. Yeah, they don't, they're not working their 9 to 5 anymore, but they still want to provide value and they want to serve and they want to have, everybody needs purpose to wake up every day. I don't care how old you are. And that, is their purpose to help people and to still serve. And, every time we lose a senior, we lose all this history and all this
Yes.
knowledge. And I think that's so undervalued.
Yes.
I agree. And what I hear you say is that there are resources that people who see themselves as not having anything that there actually are resources out there for them. And that's, I guess, what I was hoping that, this goes out. I don't know who this reaches, but I don't want to assume that this reaches just an audience that has the benefit of all the stuff that those of us here collectively may have. And so I like the idea that there's that you're saying that there are other organizations that the folks who think that they don't have anyone or don't have anything can turn to and get assistance like this.
Yeah, and my team and I are really good about seeking them out. If it's not something that we know, we will find something.
That's great. Hey, I just wanted to let everybody know that the comment about this being a wonderful conversation was by the one and only Bart. Great friend to all of us here, Bart Bartholomew with Veterans Honoring Veterans, and thank you, sir, for joining in the conversation. Bart would actually be a wonderful person to bring onto this conversation. He ended up losing his wife after, due to an illness, and I'm going to tell you something. He still to this day honors his wife so much, and you can still see that she's his dream woman. You can still see it every time you talk to him, and I mean, he's just a wonderful, wonderful guy. And for him to come on and say that this is a wonderful, subject, I know it does mean a lot to a lot of people. So, Patrick, you had a question, my friend.
Yeah, this one is just kind of involving the context that I'm in right now with like this youth initiative. So one of the programs that one of the girls, one of my teenagers want to do, Trinity Stone, shout out to you for your brilliant idea. She is, I think, 18, and one of her ideas is to do art for the elderly and all these other kind of things. And one of the things that I was thinking about just right now is like, how do we help the younger generation so they don't have to be in this situation? Because I didn't know anything about healthcare or what I could do or the actual ability that I had to have control over my healthcare. I did not actually know that until my late 30s, and being able to empower like maybe even these young people that are getting ready to start this program in the elderly with the elderly right now, when they want to go into the nursing home and give them purpose, like take the elderly out to do things with them, and how the rooms are bland and whatnot, to do art pieces for them that can be taken down whenever, and whatnot, or just sometimes to give the staff a break and clean the rooms, different things like that were some of the ideas that this team came up with of what she wanted to do. And but like I was thinking about the value of what and being able to pass that down, like to say those kids, so like when they go into that situation, maybe they can be advocates, maybe they can actually change the game for them and their families, because they know at a younger age how to do what you're doing. And so that was just a thought of mine just now sitting here, is like, is this a thing that you teach younger people, or would you be open to that?
Yeah,
That's pretty much what I meant.
yeah, absolutely. My youngest daughter, she just turned 21. She's a CNA. She's going to nursing school, and she's in an LTAC, which is like a nursing home, kind of like for ventilators and things like that. So she's dealing with a lot of older seniors, and she's got a heart like her mom, and I think just educating, because otherwise it's scary, and there's this component of fear. Like people fear older people because they just don't understand. So really just educating and exposure, and just, allowing them to ask questions and just interact. A lot of the nursing homes and stuff, when they have different activities, they would let people come in and volunteer and be a part of those. I started, one of my best friends when I was 10, her mom was a social worker and worked in a nursing home. We used to go in there and run the bingo all the time. That's kind of was my exposure at a young, and it's been, after a while, it just becomes very comfortable, and there's not that scary feeling of being around them anymore. And they're just, even my client who's blind that I mentioned earlier, she said, "You know what I just really enjoy about you?" And I said, "What?" She goes, "You talk to me just like a normal person." I'm like, well, I am a normal person, and so are you. But, there's not the medical lingo. There's not, it's just, she's a person, and we're just talking about everyday stuff. So
Yeah.
it's just, fear is a big part of it, and just exposure, and just, see if there's volunteer opportunities. There's a lot of places that lost volunteers after COVID and just have not gotten them back, and do not have the time or the energy to focus on that. So I think if someone would approach them and say, "Hey, I would love to volunteer," or "How could I help support your community?" I think that would be very welcome.
Let me ask you this, and I know that we're at the top of our hour. Stephanie and Diamond both had to run. They have another call. I know you two gentlemen have a call coming up at the top of the hour, so we'll end this here in just a little bit. But Kimberly, I think one of the questions I need maybe to have you answer is this: what do families, the individuals who are getting up there in age, and their caregivers or their children or whoever, what is the conversation that you suggest they should sit down and have to make sure that these plans are in place, that we're not sitting there and all of a sudden one has a stroke and, oh, what do we do now?
Yep. And that kind of made me think, when Patrick was talking, it made me think about that, about early on making your needs known and really spending some time and thinking about that. There's never too early of a time. I mean, I know it as a mom, you never want to think about your kid passing away or something happening, but it's important to have those conversations and just make them normal conversations, so they're not scary, but so that you understand and that you know what somebody wants. I had somebody reach out to me recently. Her mom's a retired attorney. She's trying to have those conversations. Her mom says, "Why? You want me to die?" So we kind of talked about some different questions and things that she could, turning it around. Mom, I need you to do this for me, so that it's not about mom. It's about the daughter. This is what I need from you, so that I can help you, to put me in it, so you don't leave me in a bad spot. Sometimes turning it around that way is helpful, because they don't want to be a burden to you, is what it is.
Yeah.
But really, when they know what you want, that's how you're taking away that burden, by letting them know what you want.
Look, there are so many illnesses out there that take away the ability to communicate. And if you're not clear on someone's objectives, you're left
You're
up
guessing.
to,
You're guessing.
yeah, you're guessing. And again, I wanted to bring, I don't want to show this, but I think it's very important to show this again. And this is just a very, very scary page.
Mhm.
In between 65 and 85 or 85 plus.
Yeah.
55% of the suicides in the United States, that's where they come from.
Yep.
And I would be it's kind of curious to me to wonder how many of those people were ill prepared for this situation. And with that drastic change in life, we all know what, look, from our 20s to our 30s to our 30s to 40s, there's always that drastic change in life. Well, imagine this: when you start losing cognitive abilities and Dennis and I know very well on, bones aren't exactly as strong as they used to be, muscles aren't there like they used to be,
It hurts to fall. Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know who the hell put that ground that far down there and when they did it, but I'm gonna tell you, when I find that person, because it sure does hurt to fall now. It didn't hurt near as much as it used to. So
Yeah.
but so yeah, this is just really something that you've got to communicate. This isn't look, nobody wants to talk about your mortality, but it is a must to make sure everyone's happy.
Yep.
So
Yep.
Mr. Patrick,
and when you're talking about Medicaid or something like that, that's one of the things that people can use their money for, is paying for that, and that's some qualified expenditure. So use that money to pay for things the way you want them to be. And in Colorado, we have so many options. We've got water cremation, we've got fire cremation, we've got open fire cremation, we've got green burial, we've got traditional. I mean, there's so many options here in Colorado compared to other states in the nation, that you really have a lot of options. So think about them, talk about them. What do you want?
let's before we let you go, let's bring up the I'm sorry, I called it the death midwifery. Can you explain that?
So it was a certification that that I got through kind of a master midwife, death midwife, and it is thought that you leave the world through the same portal as you enter the world through. And there's been midwives for a long time for delivering babies. The death midwife, it's really not a new thing, but it's becoming more popular, I think, which makes sense with our aging population. But again, it's going back to giving people choice at the end of life and honoring them. And, sometimes it's having those conversations. Sometimes I'm asked to kind of mediate with a family because they really want mom to talk about this and she's not willing to do it. So sometimes I'm able to, talk with mom and have those conversations and just kind of get the juices flowing in the family talking. Sometimes it's, leading them to some of my estate attorneys that I work with to make sure that everything is set up and worded the way they want it worded. People think that when they have a will, you're good to go. No, it's just a will. You're still going to go to probate. Are you okay with going to probate? Do you want your family to go through probate? Probate in Colorado is not as bad as like California or New York, but it's still, it's a year that it's going to hold things up. So make sure what do you want? What do you want to leave your family? If you hate your kids, then go for it. But if you like them, you want to, but it comes down to that, Sometimes they're like, I don't care. Or their plan is to have their kids take care of things. Well, did you tell your kids that? Are they aware?
Yeah.
I don't think they know about that. So sometimes it's sitting bedside, helping, hospice, referring to hospice, and being involved throughout the process. And, again, that varies. It could be hosting a home funeral. That's allowed here in Colorado, and that's something that I could do for a family as well. So it really, again, and I'm not trying to be vague like that, but it just really depends on what people want and giving them choices and options at the end of life. Getting down to the nitty gritty details, or being a little bit more vague if they don't, sometimes they want to leave a little bit of it to their family. But just
I think
on paper.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why, of course, it's going to be fear why somebody doesn't want to talk about these things, but I think, and this is just for somebody who I do have these conversations with my parents. We try to make sure that everything stays aligned, and we have these conversations all the time, because if something looks like it's going to change a little bit, we need to make sure that we have this conversation and everything's lined up like they want it. Look, the way that I approach with my parents is, look, once we talk about this and we have a plan, then that fear that you've got that's going to happen, it doesn't have to be there no more, because we know how we're going to take care of you. Now you can live your life.
Right.
Live your life knowing that, hey, guess what? Look, it's going to happen eventually. But now it doesn't have to be something that we have to constantly worry about every day.
Right. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Right.
I mean, truly, it's a matter of when it happens. What do you want? And what to say? Failing to plan is planning to fail. I mean, I always think too, if you have a plan in place, then you're probably good. If you don't have a plan in place, well, then stuff's going to happen.
Yep. Dennis, what did you learn? Do you have any last questions?
Actually, I know we're over time, and this topic touches on basically everything that we have been dealing with here. So I think I'd like to leave this with saying this. I'm looking forward to our next conversation with you, Kimberly. Love to have you back, because estate planning, life insurance, faith, all of this ties in with this subject, because really, if in the end, we're all born to die.
Yep.
It's what we do with it in the middle, and how we live our lives, and what we believe about that, and what our faith tells us about what comes after. That governs everything else. And and realizing too about with the subject that we have of suicide, that it's better, in my opinion, better to live as well as you can and not take your own life, because it's still going to have a negative impact if you do on those who love you and care about you.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Patrick.
Well, I just really actually enjoyed this conversation because like these are those topics where I know it's hard to talk about, you know what I mean? And like I'm a suicide survivor, and like if that would have happened, like my family would have been left with trying to figure all these things out. And then also dealing with the elderly community for a long time and just seeing like, man, the you got good people out there that take good care of them. And you got some really terrible people out there that do terrible things. Their voices are pretty much lost in silence. And to see that there's somebody advocating for all these things that's like outside of the system that needs to be dealt with, it's very encouraging to me because I didn't know you existed until today. And that's like, okay, like I could be like, hey mom, there's a lady Kimberly that is awesome that, you know, maybe you guys can talk to you about some things, take some
Yeah.
stress off of me and my brother and my sister, you know what I mean, for what
Right.
we got to do, you know, so that's really cool. Also, my only question would be like, really is like, I want a Viking funeral where, you know, they shoot an arrow, light me on
Mhm.
fire, and I can go out to see.
Yep.
These are things that can still be done.
Oh yeah, here in Colorado.
Awesome. Well, I'm
Yeah.
good to
Higher.
go.
You're not the only
I'm
one
good to
that
go,
wants it
man.
here in Colorado. Absolutely. Yes.
That's so cool. So like that's on my that's the last thing on my bucket list.
Well, I would really hope that's the last thing on your bucket list, buddy, because you ain't coming back after that. So, Kimberly, would you like to? Did we leave anything out that you would like to make sure that people hear about?
No, just that you're not alone out there. This is a journey, and I'm here to hold your hand through, you know, the ups and downs. It's a roller coaster. It's scary, and you know, let me walk. You know, be there by your side.
Well, and Kimberly can definitely help you make it a beautiful journey. And you know, kids, look. And when I say kids, I'm talking about
The
you know,
adult children. Yep.
right.
Mhm.
You're still a kid to your parents. So, but go and check out Kimberly. She is part of the Community Pay It Forward program. Once again, if you hire Kimberly to take care of your parents, you also get to donate to a cause like Dennis's program. And it's just, you know, it's just a simple way to take um uh and it's just a way to take care of each other while you're taking care of the things that you need to take care of. Truth is that, you know what, um we it, we've all said it. Look, one of the best things about life, or one of the worst things about life, is it's going to end. One of the best things about life is it doesn't have to end and leave people in a hole. Okay, if it's done right, it can be done peacefully, it can be done properly, and it can be
Beautifully.
done with the utmost care and respect for everyone. So,
Absolutely.
Kim, thank you so much for joining us. And our buddy Bart wants to do this again, and he would like to come on and talk to you. So I'm actually going to make an introduction to you so he can also talk to you as well. His organization is one of our organizations that we take care of, and I think you two should have a wonderful conversation. I think you two would have one heck of a time talking. So, but I just want to say thank you so very much for everything that you've done for us, and it's great to be able to get a hold of you again. You can once again see Kimberly's information on our website, communitypayitforward.us, at Cares Matters LLC. So, but thank you again.
Yes.
Patrick, Dennis, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. Stephanie and Diamond, thank you too for joining us as well. And please join us next week. I think we're going to probably have one more show, and then we're going to take a week off because there's this
Thanksgiving
holiday or something coming up. I don't know. And you know, me as a slave driver, I guess I'm going to give people hello. She had to come in and say hi. So, you know, I guess I better let everyone enjoy like a holiday of some kind, you know. So, but we have talked about it, and we've decided that, you know what, this problem isn't going to stop for the holidays, so we shouldn't either. And so that's what we're going to do. But please remember to love somebody out there, because somebody out here loves you. If you're not helping someone, look, you're hurting everyone. Please, no one has to go it alone when we all come together. So join us again this time next week as we continue to talk about how we can keep people from making this end of life decision. Again, thank you for joining us. Thank you, three, for sticking around, and we will see you next week.